Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Ni hao ma, howdy. Live, trance, and prosper. I'm Professor Brian David Phillips. Welcome to my home. So let's get to it. Do AI apps really understand weird English idioms? Those phrases that make no literal sense, like break the ice or let the cat out of the bag. I decided to put them to the test, and let me tell you, the results were surprising. Idioms are one of the hardest parts of learning English. I mean, if you told someone to kick the bucket or hit the hay, they'd probably look at you like you lost your mind. So, can AI tools like ChatGPT or translation apps actually explain these phrases correctly? Or will they send us down an even more confusing rabbit hole? Let's find out. Today, we're exploring how AI handles English idioms, those quirky expressions that every language learner loves to hate. I'll be testing a few classic idioms to see if AI can explain them accurately and maybe even give us some examples. And who knows, we might even discover a few funny mistakes along the way. Let's get started. So, what's an idiom exactly? It's a phrase where the meaning isn't obvious from the individual words. For example, spill the beans doesn't actually mean spilling a can of beans. It means revealing a secret. This is where idioms get tricky. For language learners, they're like little puzzles, and for AI, they're a chance to show off or completely fail. Let's start with an easy one. Break the ice. I asked an AI app to explain it, and it said, this means to physically break frozen water. Not quite, buddy. I tried again, and the app finally got it right. To start a conversation or make people feel more comfortable in a social situation. Not bad, but it took a few tries. Then I fed it, let the cat out of the bag. The app's first guest, releasing a feline from a sack. Technically correct, but not helpful. Eventually, it nailed the real end meaning to reveal a secret, often unintentionally. I have to admit, watching the AI struggle was entertaining, but I'm a cruel, cruel person. Here's the big question. Can AI tools really help us understand idioms well enough to use them naturally? The answer is kind of. They're great for learning definitions, but when it comes to cultural context or usage, they still have a long way to go. Idioms are tricky because they often rely on the nuances of human experience, and that's hard for AI to replicate. Honestly, I tell my students at the university they should learn slang, idioms, and even colorful language, adult words, curses. But they should learn them, but they shouldn't use them in conversation because I know a few Mandarin curse words. I live in Taiwan. I hear Mandarin all around me. I hear Taiwanese too. But I never use them, okay? I never call a person King 8 Egg. If you know Mandarin, you know what that means. But I know what it means when it's being said in my direction or around me. And that's important to know context. However, I don't use those words. It's not that I'm not comfortable with colorful language. I'm very comfortable. Just ask my family. He's too comfortable saying those four-letter words. But I don't use them in another language. I also tend not to use them in certain contexts, but you should know that anyway. But can AI help us with these idioms? For instance, I tested the phrase raining cats and dogs. The app gave me perfectly logical explanations. This means it's raining heavily. But when I asked for an example sentence, it said, I saw cats and dogs falling from the sky. Close, but also terrifying. Clearly, there's room for improvement when it comes to examples. In fairness, the next week, the very same app had been updated and got it better. So understand that all these statements I'm making right now are subject to revision as the AI gets better. And it's getting better every day. When there's an idiom, hit the nail on the head, the app explains it well enough to describe something exactly or solve a problem accurately. But when I asked for how to use it in conversation, the same app says, I hit the nail on the head when I hammered the board. Not exactly what I had in mind, and context should have explained that vis-a-vis the question you just answered, dude. Still, it's a great reminder that AI tools are just that. Tools, not perfect substitutes for human intuition and judging context. Finally, I tested a really obscure idiom, at least obscure where I live in Taiwan. Bite the bullet. To my surprise, the app handled it well, explaining it as to do something difficult or unpleasant that is unavoidable. This time it even gave me a solid example. I didn't want to study, but I had to bite the bullet and prepare for my exams. Looks like AI is learning. Looks like it is. AI is improving. Everything you learn on the internet today is already out of date. I published a prompt book that's already out of date. In fact, it was probably the I wrote a cutting edge document on how to use AI for language learning. It was completely up to date and awesome. Trust me, I know, awesome. But honestly, it was probably 3 months out of date when I hit print, when I shared it with others, because things change so quickly. I do a lot of research on this stuff, and I'm on the cutting edge, but I'm out of date. Everyone on the cutting edge is out of date already. So make sure you keep learning, keep updated as much as you can. We're on a treadmill. We're on that wheel going around and round and round. But if we get off, we're doomed. Of course, there are some limitations AI can't always explain. The subtle cultural context behind idioms, for example. If you ask why Americans say piece of cake for something easy, the app might just say it's a simple task without explaining the cultural love for cake. And don't get me started on regional idioms. Those are a whole other challenge for AI and for language learners. Here's a twist. While AI might not fully understand idioms yet, it's surprisingly good at helping you practice them. You can ask for definitions, examples, and even corrections when you try using idioms in your own sentences. It's like having a patient friend who doesn't mind if you mess up, because trust me, you will. So, can AI apps help you master English idioms? Absolutely, but with a few caveats. Think of them as your first step into the world of idioms, not your final destination. They'll get you started with definitions and examples, but the real magic happens when you practice using them in real conversations with real people. Although I recommend to my students, learn what you're hearing, but maybe don't use the colorful ones so much. Now it's your turn. What's the weirdest or hardest idiom you've come across? Drop it in the comments below and let's see if AI or I can explain it. And if you haven't tried using AI for idioms yet, give it a shot. You might just have some fun with it. And remember, if the AI ever tells you to spill the beans, literally, maybe keep your lunch away from your keyboard. Thanks for watching and happy idiom hunting. Well, that's it. Be sure to check the links in the description below, as well as the videos in this and my other YouTube channels. I am Professor Brian David Phillips, an associate professor at National Chengchi University in Taipei, Taiwan, where in addition to teaching undergraduate and graduate courses in literature and language, I am part of research project work on the use of artificial intelligence for language education. I hope you have enjoyed this video. For now, though, this is Professor Brian David Phillips saying, live, trance, and prosper. Bye-bye.
Breathe deep, close your eyes, and surrender to the cause. Let the rhythm of the symbols take you far. In the dance of the arcana, see your story start to bloom. Every flip, every turn, it's like magic in the room. Tarot trance, feel the vibe, let your spirit take a ride.